Hi everybody, my name is Matt and welcome to Music Monday. Today we're going to be looking at my favorite instrument of all, the drum set. Let's go take a look. Come on over. Alright, so here we are behind my drum set. And drums, if you take a look here, drums are a percussion instrument, meaning that we have to strike them either with our hand or with an object like a drumstick in order to get them to make sound. So today I'm going to show you first how to hold a drumstick, second how to do a very easy drum exercise, a very easy but very important drum exercise, and then third how to do a drum beat that you hear all the time in music on the radio, on Spotify. This drum beat is everywhere and I'm going to show you how to play it. So let's get into it. So first, let's take a look around the drum set. Here, we can see that our drum set is made up of drums, like our snare drum, our rack drum, and our floor tom. And then up here, we have our cymbals. So we have this one, which is called a crash cymbal, for obvious reasons. And this one, which is called a ride cymbal. And that's a cymbal that we use. We play it continuously throughout music and it makes kind of a pinging sound. And this one over here is called the hi-hat. And I think it's called that because it kind of looks like a hat. I don't know. I don't know the exact reason why it's called that. Anyways, so now we know all the drums here, except for probably the most important one, our kick drum. The kick drum is the heartbeat of the drum set and is also the heartbeat of the music. It makes that thumping sound that gets people out on the dance floor. And instead of being played with sticks, it is played with a foot pedal. There we go. All right. So now we know about the drum set. Let's get to playing it. So the first thing that we have to do before we start playing the drums is to figure out how we're going to do that. For a lot of drums that you might have seen, like bongos or congas, they are what's known as hand percussion. So you would use your hands to strike the drum in order to get a sound. But if you take a closer look at these drums here on my drum set, you can see that they have kind of a sharp lip around the outside called the rim. And this is what keeps the drums in tune, and it also makes it impossible really to play with your hands. I mean, I could play like this, but it doesn't really sound that good. And also, to be honest, it kind of hurts my hands. So instead of using our hands for this, we're going to be using drumsticks. And the first lesson for today is how to hold your drumsticks, because that is super, super important. Most people think that you can just sort of pick up drumsticks and start playing any old way. And they're kind of right. So if you just pick up the drumsticks, I'll have them here on the snare drum, and if you just pick them up and hold them kind of like this, yes, you can play the drums. It doesn't really look good. And it doesn't really, it's not that easy because your hands aren't really meant to work like this. You're not really a robot. So you have to pick them up in the right way. So the way to pick up the drumsticks is to first take your index finger and your thumb, like a little crab, and pick up the drumsticks about 2/3 of the way down. On these ones, you can sort of see it's where the writing starts, and some other drumsticks have a little flag or something to tell you where the proper spot to hold them is. And you can sort of feel that it's the right spot because it'll kind of feel even on both sides. So that way the drumstick will be able to pivot in your hand as you play. And you want to wrap your fingers around, not tightly like this, don't grab them like that, but just wrap them gently so that your hands are supporting the drumsticks in your fingers are supporting the drumsticks in your hand as you play. And you never want to be tense as you play. You always want it to be nice and loosey-goosey, natural. Okay, so now we got the drumsticks in our hands. It is time to strike! And we're going to start off by doing a very simple exercise, an exercise that is kind of the foundation of all drumming. And that is called the single stroke roll. And really, it's just this. It's very simple. You do one strike with one hand, and another strike with the other hand, and you just repeat that. Make it nice and even. nice and even, just like that. And the trick with the single stroke roll is that you always want to be playing with your wrists. You don't want to be using your whole hand. You're not a robot. You want to be playing with your wrists like this to make it nice and smooth. And you want there to be exactly the same amount of space in between each strike so that it sounds really nice and even. And of course, as you practice, you can make it faster, but it's good to start nice and slow. Get faster as you go. And that is really the building block of essentially all drumming, the single stroke roll. And now that you know the single stroke roll, you can start to apply it to different parts of the drum set. It doesn't always have to be on the snare drum. You could do the single stroke roll on the tom. You could do the single stroke roll on the cymbal. You could do the single stroke roll on the floor tom and the snare drum. And you can even use the kick drum as one of your hands, or you can use the kick drum instead of one of your hands and do it like that. The single stroke roll. And we're going to use that now, that single stroke roll, to show you one of the most basic drum beats that anyone can play. This is one that you hear in all music, on the radio, on Spotify, everywhere. And it goes like this. So, first of all, you want to take your sticks, and we're going to use your dominant hand, whether it's your right hand or your left hand, the one that you write with. And we're going to put this one up here on the hi-hat. We're going to make sure that the hi-hat's closed too, because you want that nice crack. And we're just going to play steady hits. And you can start it off even slower than this if you want. You can even start. And you're going to count here. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. And now we're going to add a bass drum strike on the 1 and the 3. Here we go. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. That's our heartbeat. Then we add snare drum on the 2. Nope, that's not 2. On the 3. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. And all the time we're keeping that steady hi-hat going. That's going to be our timekeeper. And it's just that. That's the beat. And if you listen to AC/DC, any rock music, even pop, you'll hear that beat. And if you speed it up, it's going to sound like this. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Nice. And now, once you have that beat, you can start to play around with it, adding different strikes in different spots to make it sound a bit more complex. Kind of like this. My name is Matt Rappel, and this has been Music Mondays on the drums.